it's Holly with Wild Blessings. It's another Teaching Tuesday, October 4th, and we are surfing nature's wave. And the colors, the abundance, honestly, this is probably my favorite time of year until I get to spring, and then I'm going, this is my favorite time of year. And I do love the winter and summer. It's not my favorite, but I love the fall, and I love the abundance. I love the harvest. The harvest is plentiful, and the laborers are few. And I know Jesus said that relating to human souls, but the harvest out in his creation is pretty astounding. This is just everything I've gathered in the last day, 2 days actually, because I had some, what else did I get? I got these hickories yesterday, and every day I get 100 acorns. So look at all of this abundance. Oh my gosh, it's so incredible. So I'm going to just share with you what's on my counter, and then I will be posting my class from last year.
What's on your counter?
Hey. Oh, I have to tell you that Max and I always do our time of silence. And so today we went to Pine Orchard Creek.
Think so.
Where my mom used to live, and there's a creek there that he loves, and there's an apple tree, so we gathered these apples, didn't we, Max? And then instead of throwing rocks for him in the creek, I threw an apple, and it would bob up, and so he wouldn't have to dig down like he usually does. And we had a good time. And what was fun is that he was eating the apples. Did you enjoy them?
Somehow. Okay, we just want to say hi.
Okay, thank you. So if you have a dog or just a little child or just yourself, make sure you spend 5 minutes a day just quiet. I hold my little Jack Russell Terrierist in my arms, and his little paws are like this, and it's just a routine we've done for many years for 5 minutes a day. I set my timer, and we just are. We're just still. We watch the clouds move. We watch the leaves dancing on their branches. We watch the leaves fall if it's the autumn. So it's just wonderful just to remember that we're human beings and not human doings, and just to be still and appreciate God's creation. So yeah, and Max really likes it. Okay, so today was a really, really busy day. And so for my tea, for my wild tea today, I am making something to chill out. And this is catnip, Nepeta cataria. I like saying that, Nepeta cataria. And and honestly, it smells kind of like, Jason, if you heard, have you smell it? It has kind of a skunkish smell, and I'm not sure why cats go crazy over this, but it's a nervine, or just a really relaxing, incredible tea, especially if you put honey in it. So I have this steeping, and the reason why I want it is because I just want to, after class tonight, I just want to go to sleep, and this will really help that. It's excellent for that. Just chills everything out. So today's class was on celebrating chestnuts, and honestly, I'm so obsessed with them that I have been talking about them for a couple of weeks. I gather them every day. I've just been cooking with them. We've made, what have we made, Jace? We've made pancakes, and we've made pizza, and we've made cookies, and we've made flour, and it has such a good chew factor. It's a completely gluten-free bread, and so between last week and this week, I found a new way of processing. I was telling you how you can cut them in half, and you have to be so careful and make sure you have a sharp knife, which I really don't. And so today I was praying that nobody would get hurt. But we went foraging for the chestnuts. We came back and we all processed them and went through these steps, and then we made them into amazing deliciousness. And so one of the things that Anna made is she took monk fruit, which is a wonderful sugar for especially keto diets because it's low in the glycemic index, and she made a syrup out of it, and then she put a whole bunch of chestnuts into the syrup and candied them, and then poured that into the popcorn, and so it's kind of like a kettle corn, and it's really, really good. So Jade, could you come try it and tell me what you think?
Well, I mean, this is mixed up?
Yeah, so there's chestnuts all through there. And what I really want to do is make them into popcorn balls with maybe some autumn olive berries like that.
There's some sweet mixed in there.
Yep, and these are the candied chestnuts that I've been working on. This is what the royalty used to make for the peasants at Christmas. And it's like, takes 3 days to make these, where you boil them for 2 minutes and then you put them in the refrigerator for 18 hours, and you do that every day for 3 days. Yeah, it's good popcorn. So I'll probably give that away tomorrow, since we probably don't need that. but it's a keto. It's monk fruit, which is not as bad for you as just the regular cane sugar. So apples are still out. What you can constantly do is just keep your eyes open for them. A lot of them are just in fields where nobody uses them. If you can find out who owns that field, then go ask for permission and tell them your teacher with Wild Blessings requires you to go foraging. And one of the happy things that happened for me this week is that Tracy Goddard, she didn't know where to find chestnuts. So she asked her neighbor if he knew where to find them. So we have not because we ask not. And so she just simply asked him, and I'll post a picture of what she sent me that he brought her that very day, because he has chestnut trees and he probably got 5 pounds, well, just a huge box full of chestnuts that he gathered for her. And he said, you can come anytime you want and gather chestnuts from our trees. So if you don't know where the chestnut trees are, just ask. Get on Facebook and say, hey, anybody have any chestnuts you're not going to be gathering? I would love to come get some. And then I have some wonderful recipes that we were making today. We made the most incredible chestnut puree soup, which Alice made, and she just did a phenomenal job. And then we had a chestnut salad, and we had a chestnut puree. We made it into this butter, just like peanut butter, like that. And then we took autumn olive berries, which are these right here, and these are delicious. This would be fun to put into our popcorn balls. Anyway, so the autumn olive berries, Cheryl had made into this beautiful jam. So we made a chestnut bread, and we completely out of chestnut flour, and then Lori took the chestnut butter, which Lee made, and we were all cooking, and then she made like little sandwiches, like little tea cakes with the chestnut butter and the autumn olive berry for our snack, and it was so delicious. So good. So these are out right now. They're very, very invasive. And Jenny Hannafin, I found this one for you. This has got a wonderful root system. And so if I were you, hon, I'd put this out in your pasture kind of far away, because it will take over, but you want it to, because this is so solid nutrition, so good for you, and so beautiful. And they're the easiest berry to gather and collect pounds of it within absolute minutes. They are so high in nutrition. They're honestly a superfood, and super invasive. So put it away from where you've got your regular garden. Another thing we did today was Kathy. Hi, Kathy. If you're there, say hi to me. If anyone's there, just say hi, please.
Tara came on. She's there.
Yeah. Hi, Tara.
Susie, too.
Hi, Liz. Susie. Love you. Okay. This is Goldenrod, and it's out now, but it's kind of like getting to it's kind of going over its peak, which is, it still has good medicine in it. If it's aromatic and it smells kind of licoricey, it's still good. But I like to get it when it's just peaking. And so what Kathy did is she took off the flowers off of a huge plume, and she put them into an empty mason jar, and then she took Faith Mountain Farms honey, which I have here somewhere, right here. And she poured that over all of these fresh blossoms. And so what I'm going to do is keep this on my counter, and then every day that I pass by it, I just flip it over. And you can do this with any flower, any peppermint, with any wild, medicinally amazing plant. You can make a honey out of it. So this will eventually drop down, and then the next time I come by, I'll just flip it over again. And I'll do that for about 2 weeks. This will get really moist and liquidy and infused. And so all of the constituents, which are antihistamine and are so good for so many things, the goldenrod is truly, it's called Solidago canadensis, or odora. And Solidago means solid or whole. And it's just one of the most amazing plants for healing just about everything. Excuse me, but it's most famous this time of year for allergies. And the reason why many of us suffer from allergies is not the goldenrod, it's the ragweed, which is right next to it, which I talk about probably every week this time of year. But it's because it's really important that y'all know that the antidote to it is right here. And so what I did is made a goldenrod punch out of it, and everyone loved it today. And so this is going to be a honey, and this honey will last all winter. Honey lasts forever anyway, but to infuse it in milkweed or bee balm or any of the really aromatic and delicious, sweet-smelling medicinal plants is a great idea for making your honey even more powerful. Okay, So my new thing with chestnuts, because like I was telling you, I'm always learning something new. And you learn it by time. You spend time with a plant and you really get to figuring out shortcuts and what works for you and so forth. So there's no real right way, but I'm not real crazy about cutting my fingers off, and so make sure you get a sharp knife. And Jace, we need to sharpen our knives. But I like to just cut them in half, and honestly, you don't have to. You could just kind of poke a hole in them so that they don't explode in the oven like a potato would if you don't pierce it. A lot of times back in the olden days when people would have fireplaces to keep their house hot or warm, if they put chestnuts in the fireplace and they had not been scored or had been pierced, they would explode, sending out these sparks, and that might cause the house to set on fire. So there were a lot of fires that were attributed to chestnuts. So anyway, I like to cut them in half, and then you put them into this boiling water, which I showed you how to do last week. And it's got to be really a strong boil. And then when it comes up to a boil again, let it boil for 5 minutes or whatever. Then when you pull it out, and we're not going to actually show this to you because I'm going to keep this really short, you just take all those nuts that you've already cut and in half or just scored, put them inside of a tea towel like this, and just pretend they're there. Bring up the edges, and they're hot now, okay? And you just squeeze, and all of these little shells. Where's my shells? Here's the shells. They just come off like by themselves. You don't have to use, last week I showed you how to use the pliers and all that. No need. If you squeeze it like that, they just literally come off, and then you just pull the wonderful nuts out, and you can use them to dry to make flour, or you can use them to make a puree or a soup or something, which is what we did today, which was fantastic. Okay, let me, let's see. Okay, so serving nature's wave berries. Let's talk about more berries. So these are toxic pokeberries, and they're out right now. This is what they look like. They're just so beautiful. This is a raceme. Look at all these gorgeous berries. And these are actually have been used not just for dye and not just for coloring wines, but they've been used for jams and jellies, but especially for, it has an amazing ability as an anti-inflammatory. So you do your own research on that. But I was fooling around with them this week, and what I discovered is if you take a pair of scissors, which I'm not sure where my scissors went, but you take a pair of scissors, we'll just pretend my pliers are scissors, and you just go over the bowl like this, and then you can get off all these berries real easy without turning your fingers magenta purple. So I wanted to get 3 cups of it, and I'll share with you the recipe I found online for poke jelly, which I've made before, and it's really delicious, but I'm more interested in it for its anti-inflammatory properties. The seeds are what are toxic, and there's a lot of seeds. I think there's 5 in each of these plump berries. So what you do is you put it through a food mill or a sieve, and all of those seeds get caught, and they don't get put into your jelly, just the juice. And the juice is the most beautiful, beautiful color, and it makes a beautiful jelly as well. So I'll let you do your own research on that. You don't need to quote me or anything. But there's a lot of fear-mongering on the web, and I just think you need to do more research than just to see what is currently being said about it, because they've been used for centuries and relied upon as an ally in the herbal world. One of my favorite herbalists, Daryl Patton, he thinks this is probably one of the best plants on the planet for medicine in many different reasons. Okay, so today we went shopping for the chestnuts, and look at this one, how it's drying up. When I first picked it, it was a completely green bird, just like this one here, and it was completely closed up. But as it's sitting on my counter, it's beginning to open up on its own, and you can see those beautiful chestnuts on the inside. And so we went shopping for them, and that was really fun. It was like an Easter egg hunt, and it was beautiful, beautiful weather. We didn't find these today, but I've been gathering hickory nuts, and if you have hickory nuts around, gather them now, even if you don't know what to do with them, because I'll be teaching you. And so they are my favorite nut, bar none, of all the nuts. And fortunately, I have quite a few hickories in a shagbark hickory grove here around my house, which is a delight. there's no way to even describe the taste of this, but you can make milk out of these just like you can with almond milk, only it tastes better. You can make the most amazing coffee with it. You can make a drink and a syrup out of the bark, which is amazing. And there's just a lot to say about hickory, so we'll probably do a whole class on this. So nuts, the hickories. Walnuts are out, black walnuts, and so some of the people that were with me today were saying, oh, can you take us to a black walnut tree? Well, I said no, because we're running out of time. I feel like a drill sergeant. So we're driving down 194 just between Todd and my house, which is only a couple miles. And between there and here, there was 9 walnut trees. And I said, here's how you find them. You look on the road for these green spheres, these look like little tennis balls or something. If they're on the road, then look up, because right above them is a walnut tree. So they're really ubiquitous. Also, the butternuts are out now free for the knowing and the picking, and they look like little footballs, and we got a ton of those today, which was exciting as well. Okay, the last thing I'll tell you is, you guys know what this is by now, because I've been collecting acorns, and this is my stash. So it's really fun to have people over to garb around with you and herb around with you, because this is a lot of work to do. So when I'm having church and stuff on Sundays, I'm literally sitting there deshelling my acorns, because it takes time. But once you've gotten them deshelled, then you can put them in water, and you can see how I've been pouring this water off with cold water, and then that way I can leach out the tannins that are in the acorns. And this one's been almost leached out completely, so tomorrow I'll dry these and turn them into acorn flour. Okay, and what's this? Okay, so this one here, you can see, needs a couple more days of leaching to get all of that tannin out of there.
Someone asked if you could explain how to shell butternuts.
Oh, that's a piece of work. Okay, what I would recommend with that is, the question was, how do you shell a butternut? And I don't have one in front of me. Jason, you've got them right over there. Can you just bring one over?
Bag?
No, do you see them on the, yeah, the red box. Okay, so they look like little tiny footballs, and they're green, and they will turn black, and they're very sticky, kind of like Velcro, actually. So this is it. And they're endangered, so there's some kind of a blight that's affecting these. Like the chestnut blight was so devastating in our country. But anyway, this one, they taste like buttered pecans, and they're super delicious. But of all the nuts, they're a little harder to open, and there's less meat for all the work. But in my opinion, they're worth it because they're so yummy. But what I do is Jace has a really strong, solid vise downstairs, like it's screwed into our workbench. And so I'll put a 5-gallon bucket underneath it, and then I'll just have a huge box full of these and stick them, and wait till they turn black and this part has dried off. And you want to cure them for a little while, like single layer, and just so that they get airflow, and then they can kind of shrink away from the out inside of the shell. And then it's easier to crush. But you can keep them. I still have a few left over from last year. I've been gathering more and more this year, because you can never have enough, in my opinion. But you just crack it in the vise, and then all of that falls into the 5-gallon bucket, and then you go through that and just pull out the meat parts with one of those little picks. I'm not sure where my pick is, but you know what I'm talking about. Oh, here it is. So, like that. Interesting. Do you remember, I don't know, Jace, when you were a kid and it was Christmas time and you had a stocking for Christmas, did you ever have nuts in their shells in your stockings and oranges?
No, but I can remember having a nut pick like that around and doing that with pecans, picking out the nut meat from the shells of pecans.
Yeah, well, pecans are a piece of cake compared to this.
Oh, I think that's really encouraging for people to hear.
This is free and it's delicious. So, and if you have children, put them to work. Or bring your friends over like I did today and have them help you make a wonderful meal. So that's about it. I think there's so much more on Nature's Wave. Oh, today I saw a ton of wild grapes. And one of my students brought me some grape jelly from the Muscadine, so that was kind of her. And I think it was Alice. Thank you, Alice. I think that's it. Okay, guys, I love you. Oh, I want to tell you what's coming up. I have very few classes in October, and I'm going to require that people sign up for things at least 24 hours in advance because I just got to know for preparation. But if you're not on my, what did you call that, Jason? MailChimp, or how to?
Your email list.
My email list. If you get on that, I've been getting really good. Go to wildblessings.com, and that'll immediately put you, if you get the popped in, that'll immediately get you on my mailing list, and then I can let you know on the regular what's coming up. Oh, and then the classes that I'm going to be posting are on being wild and prepared. There's a scripture that says, the wise man foresees the difficulties ahead and prepares for them, but the fool goes blindly on and suffers the consequences. And so I'm not a fear monger or anything, but when you look around or listen to the news, which I recommend you don't, but if you do, realize that there's a lot of uncertainty in our world. And so the more you can get this skill of foraging, which really is in our DNA, because this is why you're even here. People foraged all of our history for centuries, since the beginning, for their food and for their medicine. And so learn these skills. I'm here to teach you. Love to have you join me. Okay, that's it. Thank you for joining me. Love you all. Bye.